For me, within the experience of a normal game, it feels a lot like a practice. A little more intense, a little more scripted by coaches, but it feels like a fairly normal experience, normal basketball experience. However, once it gets to the tournament, everybody's eyes are on you. You've got, sitting in the hotel, and no matter where you go, you've got 50, 60 fans all waiting to try to say hi, and everybody knows who your name is, and you can't really go anywhere or do anything without knowing that your next game's coming. And that, hey, if I don't do what I need to be, it's experience. And I remember the first game of the NCAA tournament, I had rolled my ankle about a week before, and Larry told me that I was not going to be playing in the first game. It was everything I could do to not lose my mind on it, especially because my senior year, and I'm looking forward to it, and we got the call about being fifth, and I'm thinking I'm going to play, and our matchup, I remember, was a really quick, guard-heavy team, played small. I think their big was only like 6'6", and so Jakob was the only one who got to play that first game. And I remember that every fiber of my being was invested into who was on the court. I remember how even the clock slowed down every possession, because especially towards the end of the game, it was really tight. But the level of focus that every single player had for every single possession, it was life on the line, every single play.
I remember Tim Durslin phrased it that it was a win-win for him, because when you're there, it's not like a conference tournament. You're almost just like playing. He described it actually as playing with house money. Would you say that you felt the same way? And I see Jordan nodding his head. He agrees. But would you say that you felt you were playing with house money?
Especially with me being non-starter and coming in and just trying to do whatever I could. I definitely felt like you have to, like Jalil said, you got to be a little delusional. You got to believe beyond any contestation that you and your squad have got it. And you got to believe in yourself and all the effort and practice that you put in, and knowing that, hey, I can trust myself to make the last shot, or make that open shot, or make that hook shot, do whatever you need to do.
So the pressure does definitely rise to the next level.
Oh, beyond, for sure.
It feels different. It feels like this game feels like a bigger game.
100%. And a lot of times for me, I would see each game as the showcase of what my practices have done. However, the tournament, it is what my life's practices have created. It's not just the, hey, last week of, hey, I got 100 extra shots up. Or, hey, I was an extra half hour, 45 minutes early. Before the game, I got an extra, a couple thousand shots or a couple hundred hook shots or whatever. Those moments don't matter anymore. It's when I was 12 and went and shot in the cold and was happy that I chose to do it at that point. And every single moment, pushing when I knew possibly others wouldn't, those moments are what showcased at the tournament.
Almost like Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I think Steph always said he would shoot 1,000 shots a day, or whatever the number was. But he shoot 1,000 shots a day, and then he got to the tournament with Davidson and just lit it up. Absolutely, And we were like, who's this kid? And he made a name for himself, but because he shot 1,000 shots a day.
And then it was those, when he was 12, 13, 14, those ones that we got to see in that tournament.
What about for you, Jordan? I saw you shake your head to the house money, so you would agree.
100%. I mean, I was stoked out of my mind. Like, everyone talks about all the pressure of the tournament. I did not feel that at all. We had, every single year, we had played in the conference tournament and got to NIT, and then that was it. But then we get the call on Selection Sunday. We're ranked decent. I think we were ranked 10th that year. And I got to play in front of more people than I've ever played in front of. And I had one of the best games of my career because I had a coach that said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so how we played that entire year, we won big games at the last moment, block shots, but how we played that year is how we played in the tournament. And unfortunately, we lost by a last-second buzzer beater where he didn't even look at the rim. But it was so much fun, and yeah, it was like, it's kind of like playing in overtime, right? That's free basketball.
So nothing to lose for you.
Exactly. It was my senior year. It was one of the last games of my career in college, and there was only upside there.
Is the adrenaline just higher for you though? Because you're like, you know, I mean, the lights are brighter. You guys are playing at 5 seed Texas, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So kind of roles reversed.
Yeah. No, it was.
Or no, you guys were a 10. You guys were a 10.
We were 10. So right. Yeah, we were 10.
So you played so a 10 would play a 7, right? Yeah, you played a 7 seed.
Yeah, and it was, my coach also told me that the feelings of nervousness and excitement are like parallel emotions. So you can either be excited or you can be nervous, and I just chose to be excited.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. I like that. And then what about for you? Like, just what's the team locker room like? You know, being in the team locker room before that game. I know you guys obviously said you guys felt like you guys were poised to be the first 16 seed to beat a 1. But just tell me the vibe in that locker room overall.
Yeah, it was honestly pretty chill. It was more, celebratory. They were giving us new shoes, new jerseys, new this and that. So, for us, especially because the starters and some of the guys coming off the bench, they hadn't done it before. It was more of a, relaxed, what shoes did you pick? Type of vibe. Because we were a small mid-major. We're not used to getting 8s. So it was just kind of like just a fun experience for us. But definitely, when our head coach would walk in the room, just like any other game, it's business. But like I said, we were fortunate for who we played because it was just, hey, majority of the time they're going to play this defense, and we could just practice those reps over and over again. It wasn't like we had to really think too much about it. So it really was relaxed, and we just had 2 really dynamic senior guards who kind of led the way, and they kind of set the tempo and everything. So it was cool. It was cool.
Is practice different when you get to the tournament? And obviously you're in a neutral site, so you're at a place you've practiced before. But what are those practices like?
Yeah, the practice is definitely, because our coaches, I think they wanted it, more than anybody in the tournament. They were definitely, if the scales had 10, they were on 15, just because, again, you just have to beat this zone. So, let's figure it out, let's get to it, let's correct any mistake that we need to make, and, so they were definitely adamant on that because, like I said, you just basically, and I don't want to make it sound that easy, but for the most part, that's how Syracuse played at the time, so, they were just kind of hitting on that. They definitely, in the past it would be more, constructive yelling, but for the tournament it was definitely like, what's up, let's figure it out,
Why are we not beating the zone?
Right. So, we would have practice team, scout team. It was definitely like, in the past, I would probably get some normal reps, and then for this, it's like, hey, look, you're probably not playing. You're in the zone. Run the zone. Do it how he does it, So I was just watching film, like I had to take on a whole different character. I had to be fat, mellow for some practices, right? And imitate what he's doing, and then, so stuff like that,
So what about for you, like, Larry Christoviak, did he change once you got to March?
Yeah, Larry definitely has a specific emotionality that correlates really well with game time. Practices, he was a much different character. Honestly, Tommy Conner took over a lot of the practices, and Larry would sit back and watch, figure out exactly how he wanted to do it in the game. But Larry, when it came to tournament, it almost was like all the silliness and the funniness and the, well, we're in business now. Right now it's lock in, make sure, like Jalil said, no mistakes. We can't afford mistakes. Mistakes that, against their ASU were fine. We can't do that in the tournament. And so yeah, definitely a step up from the normal. But again, it was necessary. And when I look back at my tournament run and I see the fight that we had and the team that we had, Larry really led each of us in game. And I think he did really well, X's and O's wise. But again, it was no mistakes. Couldn't afford.
And looking back, like in that loss against Duke, you guys losing Julie Okafor, who's the first pick in the draft that year, I do believe. Correct?
Jalil did nothing against me.
Yeah, Parker had a very good synopsis of that game, actually. He did say, what did he look at, like 7 points or something that game?
I just felt really good. Go ahead, Parker.
Dallin had 11 points in 12 minutes and held Jalil to 6 points.
Wow.
I was happy with how I played that game. Even going back, if I watch it again, I still feel good. But I wish I could have played a little more. But, sorry, what was the question before we jumped sideways?
You're talking about Chris Obiak and just the uptick in intensity.
One of the things I remember within the Duke game, he talked about being in the foxhole. He's like, right now we are in a foxhole together. And when you're down there, you don't really know which way's up. You're in there, you're fighting, and the person you want beside you are the people you trust completely. And when we were in the tournament against Duke, fighting against them, and we had a very good game plan against Jalil. We doubled a good portion of times, and if we played Duke 10 times, I honestly believe we beat them 7.
Really?
Honestly.
Just that game?
That game, DeLon Wright went out with foul trouble early, which I think that was the only game all year he went out with foul trouble early. I believe he had 3 fouls in the first half, and 2 of those were definitely not fouls, and any other game would not have been called. But with the press and the pressure and stress of everything, and it was really odd being in the Texans dome. Brandon Taylor, who averaged 20 points a game for us, didn't score until 8 minutes left in the game.
Were you guys playing at Energy Stadium that year?
No, we were in the Titans. They were sort of the Texans.
Yeah, at Energy. You guys were playing at Energy Stadium.
Yeah.
In the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
That's odd.
I remember they dropped a curtain, but it was like 20 yards behind the hoop.
Got you.
And so just distance was impossible. And so luckily I didn't have to shoot far, so that's why I was able to have my 11. It was all and-ones and hook shots and stuff.
You know, I know the court is like 94 feet, and the hoops are 10 feet up, obviously, but does the court almost look bigger when you're on that stage?
Definitely feels a lot, and honestly for me it was more just how it felt shooting. The court itself, once I'm in game, I don't really notice the fans all that much. My dad would always yell in high school, and I usually was able to drown that out. And so once I'm in game, I'm hearing my team, I'm hearing my court, and maybe I'm hearing the coach, but I'm locked in. And so for me, the visual of how each stadium looks is where it really changes.
And obviously neutral site does sort of off. And the deeper you go, the more the sets change. Obviously after round of 32.
Honestly, like if you get to the Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
that experience is probably going to be the only one that doesn't change. So like, if you're able to get to the finals in that gym and be able to finally get used to that gym, then that'd be experience.
And you played MSG.
I don't think that would be better.
I just want to go to these guys really quick. So just go around. Where are you going to school, Tuck? You're going to Lehigh. Okay, in Pennsylvania. No, sorry. Where are you going in college, dude?
Oh.
Yeah. I think you're like, is he a Patriot League guy? No. Where are you playing college basketball? Are you uncommitted? Oh, you're a junior. Okay, sorry. Dang. Haven't decided yet. Anybody here decided on where they're going to school? Will Openshaw going to BYU? Gavin's going to UCI. So for these two guys specifically, these guys are uncommitted right now. Good to see you guys, by the way. And I'm sure all these guys will play college basketball at a D1 major school. But for these two who are committed, like, what advice would you have to them? Like, 'cause obviously he probably will play in a tournament in 2 years when he's done with his mission. Gavin next year will be at UCI. Potentially Andrews could be in the tournament. What advice would you have to them as like freshmen?
I'm going to give it to my brother first so I can think for a second.
There you go.
Your coach is going to teach you a lot. I was really fortunate to play for an incredible coach, Herb Sendek. I think he's won Coach of the Year in every conference he's coached in. Like, he was this year's Coach of the Year at the West Coast Conference. But what he taught me most, and I've said it already, is how you do one thing is how you do everything. And like he talked about how the intensity went up at the tournament. Like, the way Herb coached all year was the way he coached for the tournament. So I think that's part of the reason why I was able to be excited, was because it was another day at the office. Like, he was intense throughout. And so it helped me keep my intensity, helped me keep my work ethic up. But I think the biggest thing that I would say coming in as a freshman is spend as much time on the court as possible. Be seen at the practice facility, and like, as cliche as this is, be the first one in, last one out. It'll do a number of things. It'll help you get better with your skills, and it'll help your coaches have the confidence that you're putting in the time so that they can count on you. If they never see you, you're going to be an unknown because you're a freshman.
So intensity has to raise in terms of practicing for these guys. Like, would you say obviously now, like, create those habits now, or like wait till you get to campus?
Oh, 100%, right now.
That was it. Give me a question.
I got a quick story on that. So I was really fortunate to play for Team Canada, and we had Jay Triano as our coach. He was fortunate enough to be around Kobe and around KD. And when KD saw the way that Kobe practiced, it completely changed his outlook on the game. Like, there's a story of where KD came and saw the way that they showed up to practice, and Kobe was already on the court, drenched in sweat, and he had been there for 2 hours. And the way that he was practicing before practice was like he was about to be in the championship game, and he was going all out for every single rep. Not just like shooting up a shot, jogging the ball down. No, he'd shoot one, he would sprint it down and make every rep a game rep.
Just the intensity was greater, obviously. I mean, Kobe's known for that too, obviously. Like, so would you say that was your mentality in college?
For my senior year, for sure. I mean, it took me a little bit longer. I'm kind of stubborn, and Herb's a yeller, and so I would kind of push back against that. But when I embraced what he really was saying, yeah, my intensity went up a ton.